It was the kind of Monday morning that felt scripted for disaster. The air in the high-rise office thick with the hum of fluorescent lights and the faint scent of stale coffee from the break room. Sarah Jenkins had just settled into her corner cubicle on the 14th floor of Harlan Tech Solutions in downtown Chicago, her fingers already dancing across the keyboard, pulling up the intricate web of code that kept the company's proprietary analytics engine running smoothly. 15 years she'd poured into this place, late nights debugging algorithms while the city lights twinkled like indifferent stars outside. Weekends sacrificed to system overhauls during mergers that made the executives millionaires. She wasn't flashy about it. Sarah was the quiet force, the one who fixed problems before they became fires. But that morning, the new CTO, Marcus Hale, fresh from some Ivy League tech incubator, all sharp suits and sharper ambition, strode in like he owned the skyline. He didn't knock on her invisible cubicle wall, he just loomed there, arms crossed, and dropped the bomb. Your time here is done. No warning. No severance chit-chat. Just those 4 words slicing through the air like a corporate guillotine. Sarah froze for a beat, her hazel eyes locking onto his, cataloging the details that screamed outsider, the designer watch that screamed compensation for insecurity, the perfectly gelled hair that hadn't seen a single all-nighter in this building. She could feel the betrayal coil in her gut. A slow burn that tasted like the vending machine sandwiches she'd choked down during those endless coding marathons. 15 years. And this? No handshake. No, thanks for the memories. Just a security guard hovering in the background like a bad omen. She didn't beg or burst into tears. That wasn't her. Instead, she offered a small, knowing smile, the kind that hides a storm, and said, "Hope you know how to keep the lights on." As she packed her sparse belongings into a cardboard box, a faded company mug etched with Code Wizard, a stress ball from the 2015 hackathon, and a small succulent she'd nursed through 2 office moves, the whispers started rippling through the open-plan floor. Colleagues averted their eyes, but she caught the subtle nods from Lisa in QA, who mouthed, "He's gonna eat those words." Walking out that glass revolving door felt like shedding a skin that had grown too tight, the Chicago wind whipping her hair as she clutched the box to her chest. The hurt wasn't just professional, it was personal. A deep-seated wound from years of being the invisible glue holding the chaos together. She'd buried bugs that could have tanked multi-million-dollar client deals, shielded the team from executive whims during the embezzlement probe back in 2018, the one where a mid-level manager had siphoned funds through fake vendor accounts. Sarah had spotted it, quietly patched the vulnerabilities, and never sought the spotlight. They called her reliable in performance reviews, but reliable apparently meant replaceable. As she drove home to her modest apartment in Wrigleyville, the traffic blurring into a haze, she didn't plot revenge in some dramatic monologue. No. The seeds were already sown in the system itself, the analytics engine she'd architected from scratch, layered with custom scripts, machine learning models that adapted to market fluctuations, and a fail-safe protocol she'd implemented after that scandal. It wasn't malice, it was prudence. The core required her biometric sign-off every 72 hours to prevent data stagnation or unauthorized tweaks. And Hale? He'd swung his axe without even asking for the blueprint. By Tuesday evening, Sarah was at home, curled up on her worn couch with a cup of chamomile tea, staring at the laptop she'd synced to a personal shadow log years ago, not for spying, but for her own peace of mind. A backup against the what-ifs. The first alert pinged softly. Access attempt failed. Credential mismatch. She didn't smile. She just felt a hollow ache. The kind that comes from knowing you've been undervalued until it's too late. Hale had tried logging in for a routine client forecast pull, the kind that informed everything from stock buys to hiring sprees. But without her thumbprint skin tied to the admin key. It locked down. displaying a sterile message, "Contact primary architect for recalibration." That architect? Sarah Jenkins. Her name etched in the code like a ghost in the machine. The pain twisted deeper as she imagined the panic starting to brew, not because she wanted them to suffer, but because the silence of her absence was finally screaming the truth she'd swallowed for years. Wednesday dawned gray over Lake Michigan, and the logs lit up like a fireworks show gone wrong. Multiple attempts from Hale's IP, then from the dev team lead, Raj, whom she'd mentored from an intern fresh out of college. Override rejected. Biometric required. Sarah paced her small kitchen, the betrayal festering like an untreated wound. Why hadn't they valued her? The system wasn't just code, it was her life's work. Predicting client churn with 92% accuracy. Flagging fraud patterns before they hit the books. She'd offered to train backups twice, emails documented. CC'd to HR, but priorities always shifted to urgent fires elsewhere. Now, those fires were raging without her. A text buzzed from an old colleague. "Mia, hey. Everything okay?" Hale's flipping out over the engine. Sarah didn't reply. The silence was her shield. A quiet rebellion against the years of being overlooked. But inside, the psychological toll mounted, sleepless nights replaying every thankless task. The isolation of being the one who knew too much but said too little. By Thursday morning, the company was in freefall. The board meeting loomed. A quarterly ritual where Hale was set to dazzle with optimized insights, his buzzword for repackaging Sarah's work. But the engine wouldn't budge. Spitting back archived data from 6 months ago. Charts frozen like relics. In the sleek conference room overlooking the loop, Hale sweated through his presentation, clicking frantically as the screen mocked him with red error banners. "It's a permissions glitch," he stammered to the stone-faced board, his voice cracking under the weight of his own hubris. Whispers erupted. Who built this anyway? Why wasn't there a handover? The CEO, David Harlan, a no-nonsense veteran who'd founded the firm in the dot-com boom, leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "You terminated her without consulting IT? Without a knowledge transfer?" Hale's face drained of color. The realization hitting like a freight train, he'd mistaken authority for expertise. Sarah's name flashed on every denial log. A digital indictment of his rash decision. Back in her apartment, Sarah watched the escalation via the logs, her heart pounding not with glee, but with a bittersweet vindication laced with regret. The price of her silence? A company teetering. Jobs at risk if the acquisitions fell through. But the betrayal stung too deep, the way they'd discarded her like yesterday's code. Ignoring the human cost. Her phone started vibrating, missed calls from unknown numbers. Then a voicemail from Harlan himself. Voice strained. "Sarah, we need to talk." This was a mistake. She let it ring. The power shifting in that unspoken void. The psychological warfare wasn't intentional, it was the fallout of their choices. Her quiet competence turned weapon by neglect. Finally, as evening fell, she answered Harlan's third call. "What do you want?" she asked, her tone even, masking the storm within. The negotiation unfolded like a tense chess match over the phone. Harlan's desperation palpable. "We need you back. Full reinstatement. Direct report to me. No Hale in the mix. Name your salary." Sarah paused, the years of swallowed pride bubbling up. And acknowledgement? That this wasn't just a glitch, it was negligence. He agreed. The board murmuring in the background. But the victory felt hollow. Revenge didn't heal the scars of invisibility. She hung up, staring at her reflection in the window, wondering if reclaiming her power was worth the emotional wreckage left behind. Friday morning, Sarah walked back into the building. Not as a conqueror, but as a survivor. The lobby security guard did a double-take. but she breezed past with a nod. Up on the executive floor, the air was electric with unspoken apologies. Hale was gone, escorted out that very morning. His office already cleared. A casualty of his own ego. In the boardroom, she plugged in her laptop, her thumb scanning the biometric pad with a soft beep. The engine roared to life. Dashboards populating with real-time data. The company's pulse restored. The board exhaled collectively. But Sarah met their eyes steadily. "This system isn't magic," she said, voice cutting through the relief. "It's built on trust, the kind you broke." Harlan nodded, offering her the chair at the head. She took it. But the triumph was tempered by the cost, the lingering doubt, the fractured loyalty. In the end, her revenge wasn't fireworks. It was the quiet reclamation of a life undervalued. A reminder that silence can shatter empires, but it leaves echoes of pain in its wake.